Hey guys, welcome back to Versatile Knowledge, and in this video I'm going to be doing the 1 year review of the MacBook Pro 16 inches. So this is my MacBook Pro 16 inches guys. I've been using this for the last 1 year, and in this video I'll be giving you guys my experience about this machine and how has this machine helped me grow this channel over the last 1 year. This will not be a scripted video or something. I just turned on the camera and I'll be talking straight out of my heart. I have made down few points on my notepad, and I'll be talking with you guys about the experience with those particular aspects with this machine over the last 1 year. To start things off, I purchased this laptop MacBook Pro 16 inches on January 26th, 2020, and I've been using it for 1 complete year, and I've turned on and used this machine every single day over the last 365 days. So this is how I've used this machine completely in a very rough and tough manner actually, and this machine has stood strong throughout everything that I've put on this device. The first thing is I'll be talking with you guys about the design and build quality of this machine. This laptop MacBook Pro 16 inches is made of complete aluminum body guys, and the quality of materials that has been used over this laptop on the top shelf, on the keyboard surface, on the bottom, on this surface as well is fantastic. It just justifies the price that we are paying for this machine, and to hold in this hand it is very good as well. One beautiful thing about the Mac laptops is about the weight distribution that they do on the lid, and also the groove that they give over here, with the help of which you can easily lift this laptop like this. So this is a very cool feature that is actually present in Mac laptops. Most of you guys actually love that feature as well, and I've not seen many Windows machines doing this. That is another important cool thing that I like about this MacBook Pro 16 inches, that you can just easily lift with this lid. Overall weight is somewhere around 2 kgs, but I never felt that this laptop is heavy. Overall design and build is fantastic. The quality of materials, the look of this device is fantastic as well. The second point that I have written down is about the ports, how I have liked or hated the port situation on the MacBook Pro. There are only 4 ports that is present, that is 2 Thunderbolt, that is the USB Type-C ports on the left side, and 2 USB Type-C ports on the right side of this machine guys. What I felt is over the last 1 year I have never felt there is lack of ports or something. That is only because of the USB hub that I have purchased. So this is the EKSA USB hub, that is what I have purchased guys. This cost me 2,500 rupees or something. I'll be leaving the links to this hub in the description. If you guys are interested in buying this hub, you can buy it. As you can see, there are 2 USB Type-C ports over here, and there are multiple different ports over here. There is the USB Type-C port, there is the HDMI port over here, there is one normal USB port for your pen drive, and there is one micro SD card slot port, there is one memory card slot, that is the large size memory card slot, there is another Thunderbolt port that is present over here, and also there is another USB port that is present over here, that is the normal size USB port. And because of this hub, I never felt the need of any more ports on the MacBook Pro. And another thing about ports is that this laptop can charge on all the 4 different USB Type-C ports that is present. Now let's come to the point of battery and charging. I'll be dividing charging and battery life as 2 different parameters. In terms of charging, this device will take somewhere around 3 hours to charge from 0 to 100%. But once it is charged, there are 2 important scenarios. If you're doing normal browsing, if you're doing some text editing, if you're doing some light stuff or something, the battery life is just incredible. Probably this is the best battery life on any MacBook I have experienced, and the battery life on this device is unmatched for light works. So for example, if you're doing some Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Safari browsing, if you're watching a movie, I've got somewhere around 9 hours of battery life on this device. When I was watching a movie, I was doing some light task on that particular day. I was using Safari most of the time, and when I was using Google Chrome, battery life actually drops by a couple of hours because of Google Chrome uses a lot of memory, guys. With Safari and watching a lot of movies, just doing some light tasks, then the battery life is easily somewhere around 8 to 9 hours. The second scenario about battery life is when you're using heavy tasks. What do I mean by heavy task is I use IntelliJ Android Studio for software development purposes, and also I use Google Chrome a lot to write a lot of things on Google Docs. And when I'm not doing any development related work, I use a lot of online tools like Canva, Zoho Tasks, Trello, and many other online tools. At the same time, I'll be editing videos on iMovie as well. If I'm editing a 4K video, a raw file of length somewhere around 5 to 6 hours, to crunch it down to 30 minutes of video, battery life dips by at least 50%. You will not even get battery life of 3.5 hours also. That is what heavy task I mean by. When I'm using emulator and on Android Studio, and when there are a lot of classes and libraries, and when there are a lot of files that is arranged inside that particular project, the battery life also drips. For normal browsing and for light task, battery life is 9 hours. For using software development purposes, my battery life was somewhere around 4 hours to 5 hours. And when I'm using extremely heavy duty tasks like rendering videos, editing videos like 4K, 6K, 6K videos, my battery life dipped down to less than 3 hours. So this is what my battery life situation was. Most beautiful thing is that you can use one charger of this MacBook Pro for every other task. So for example, if you're having this MacBook Pro's 100-watt charger, you can charge your smartphone as well, you can charge your cameras as well, you can charge your other devices which has USB Type-C based charging. So guys, now let's talk about the display on this laptop. So this device actually comes with a 16.1 inches IPS LCD display. This is not an AMOLED display or an LED display or something. This is a typical IPS LCD display, and IPS LCD is the way to go for large size displays because there will be no burning in issues, or there will be no degradation issues over the course of time. That's why laptop manufacturers generally choose IPS LCD displays no matter how high end you go. This is just a normal 60 Hz refresh rate display, and the display quality is probably the best in the industry even today. This display is fantastic. It can play back Dolby Vision videos on Safari, on Netflix. It can play back HDR videos easily, viewing angles, the ability of the display to adapt to different lighting conditions, different content that you have played. Everything about this display is just top notch. Beautiful part is that they have reduced the bezels on the MacBook Pro 16 inches model, which I felt was a great move. The overall resolution of this display is 3072 x 1920, which is slightly above full HD. This device also has True Tone, which makes the display adjusted to the lighting conditions. When we are talking about the display, let's talk about the cameras as well, because there is a small camera that is present, which is a 720p webcam that is present, and this is the only con, or this is the only negative part that I have about this MacBook Pro, guys. The quality of the webcam is extremely hopeless. What I actually do when I'm taking Zoom calls or when I want to have some extremely important conference is that I actually use my phone's front camera and I use the iRuin web and mobile client to make sure that I get the best quality output for video conferencing. I've done a specific video about how to use your smartphone as a webcam for Google Meet and for Zoom video conferencing. You can go ahead and watch that video in the description and also in the card section, guys. Next part of this laptop, that is the keyboard on this laptop. So one major problem that MacBook Pro 16 inches solved in 2020 was the keyboard of the older generation of MacBooks. If you guys know, the older generation of MacBooks used to use a technology called butterfly keyboard. The keyboard experience on the MacBook Pro 16 inches is as good as any other laptop keyboards in this market. Backlighting is sufficient enough to work in night lighting conditions. Sound that comes from the keyboard is also not too disturbing. The noise that it makes is also limited. As you can see, number of keys that is present is not as high as a full-size keyboard or something, but you will have to use the shortcuts that is present using Command W to close the window, and many other shortcuts you can use to get the experience as good as a full-size keyboard. There is very good key travel that is present in this keyboard, and you can feel those keys. It will give you a good feedback as well when you are typing for long hours. Now let me go ahead and talk about the next important part, that is the touch bar that is present. Touch bar is actually a very controversial thing, guys. More than 70% of the people did not like the touch bar. Around 25% of the people actually were like, they were fine even if the touch bar is there, touch bar is not there, and around 5% of the people were like, they really love the touch bar. And Apple is also even planning that they will be removing touch bar from the next generation of the MacBook Pros, that is the MacBook Pro 14 and 16 inches that will be launching this year with M1 chips will not have touch bar, guys. So what is my experience with touch bar? I have actually used and loved the touch bar because it is easy for me to increase the brightness or decrease the brightness from touch bar. Throughout my experience of this MacBook Pro from the last 1 year, I have actually never used these toggles that is present on the top bar to reduce the brightness or increase the brightness, or use the top bar to reduce the volume or increase the volume. I always used this touch bar to increase the volume and decrease the volume, and I have always used this touch bar to increase the brightness and decrease the brightness, and also to open new tab in Google Chrome and Safari I use the touch bar, and to use emojis when I am typing I use the touch bar. So I personally love the touch bar. Now let's talk about one important point, that is performance on this MacBook Pro machine. So this is where I would like to go ahead and give a great rating for this laptop. That is, it is 10 out of 10 for performance. This particular machine that I have is a Core i7 model, which is the 9th generation Core i7. It is a 512 GB variant, guys, and the performance is unmatched. I was able to render videos at an extremely fast rate. I was using an old Windows laptop with Core i5 configuration or something. This has a Core i7 with 9th generation running on the latest Mac OS Big Sur, and it is fantastic in terms of performance. The sustained or peak performance of this device is better than M1 based MacBook Pro and M1 based MacBook Air, and it can even match to some top of the line gaming laptops in this industry. This machine costs 2 lakh rupees and the performance is just justified for that price that they are asking for. Like when I'm using Android Studio or when I'm using Docker or something, the performance on this machine was fantastic, guys. The video editing on this device was fantastic. Let me give you a scenario over here. 4K video of 10 minutes. In order to render that video on iMovie I'm talking about, this machine will do it less than 3.5 minutes or something. Another cool trick what I used to do is, whenever the fan used to turn on, right, I used to tap on this Siri button, Hey Siri command that is present over there on the touch bar. Whenever the processor used to heat up and the fans used to turn on, what I used to do is I used to tap on that Siri and instantly fans used to turn off, and the performance also used to be sustained for next few minutes of time as well. So this is one important trick that I found out and I used to follow this, and overall performance for sustained amount of time is fantastic. I never turned off this laptop from the last 2 months or something, because whenever I don't want to use a laptop, I just shut down the lid like this. Whenever update comes, laptop automatically restarts, so I don't need to restart as well. So this is with respect to the performance on this device. So in terms of performance, there is a statement that I want to make. This is the most powerful laptop Apple produces even today in 2021. So this is the statement that I would like to go ahead and make, and most of the industry experts will agree with me, because the sustained or the peak performance of the MacBook Pro 16 inches Intel model is even better than the M1 based MacBook Air and the M1 based MacBook Pro 13 inches that they launched. I'm happy that even after 1 year my laptop is faster than the other laptop Apple is manufacturing. Maybe this laptop gets dethroned this year with the launch of M1 based MacBook Pro 16 inches. Now let's talk about something which is very important, that is, how was my experience when I switched from Windows to Mac OS. I have been a Windows user for a very long time. Like from 2005 I have been using computers, and from 2005 to 2020 I have only used Windows computers. In the middle, for some programming purposes, I used Linux and Ubuntu. I used to use Adobe Premiere Pro and Filmora and DaVinci Resolve when I was using Windows. Suddenly I shifted to iMovie and Final Cut Pro on the Mac OS. What is my experience? There are few things which Mac does better and there are few things which Windows does better. I am someone who is unbiased with respect to these platforms, and I love both the platforms, guys. File system and File Explorer is still easy and better on Windows than the Mac OS. Overall, in terms of battery life, in terms of convenience, Mac OS optimization is fantastic. I've never used a Windows laptop which gives as good as a battery life as MacBook Pro, because that is the standard that Mac OS has set with its optimization. My personal experience was that most of the shortcuts that I used to use on Windows computers, right, like using Command W for closing a window, Command T to open a new window on browser, switching between different applications using the keyboard, all of those shortcuts will work easily on Mac OS also. Minimal ADB and fast boot to boot some custom ROMs or something, that will also work fine on Mac computers. Some people have a doubt that I don't get hacked softwares, I can't crack softwares or something. No, it is not true. You can easily get cracked softwares for Mac laptops as well. So now let's talk about the MacBook Pro 16 inches, and should you wait for M1 based MacBook Pro 16 inches? Yes, you should wait for M1 based MacBook Pro 16 inches because it will just launch in the second half of 2021. Would I recommend you guys to buy this laptop today? There are 2 points here, guys. I would bifurcate between what is your priority and what is your requirement and how urgent is your requirement. If you want a laptop today, right now, and you are in an urgency to get the best of the best Apple laptop today, then you have to go for the 16 inches MacBook Pro. But if you don't have an urgency, you can wait for a few months for the next generation of the M1 based Apple MacBook Pro 16 inches, then you should wait for that laptop, because I think it will be launched in November of 2021. Before that, they might launch the MacBook Pro 14 inches. Most probably the 16 inches of M1 based MacBook Pro will be coming in the second half of 2021. And if you are not having an urgency to buy a laptop, you can easily wait for that machine. Guys, that's it for my review of MacBook Pro 16 inches after 1 year of usage. So what is my satisfaction score? How happy I am on a scale of 10? I am happy 10 out of 10. Why I'm telling is, point 1, I have shelled out my hard-earned money of 2,20,000 rupees on this machine. It better be good, was my opinion. But in real life, this is certainly exceeded my expectations over the last 1 year. If you guys have liked this video, please hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more interesting content ahead. Thank you for watching, guys.